Have you ever stopped to think about what's actually doing all the work inside your body? I mean, what allows your muscles to move? What helps your immune system fight off invaders? And what lets your cells get the energy they need to, live? Well, the answer, in so many cases, is this incredible class of molecules called proteins. They are, quite literally, the microscopic machines that make life possible.
All right, so here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the absolute basics, the building blocks of proteins. Then we'll see how they assemble into these complex machines. After that, we'll explore the huge variety of jobs they do, what happens when they fail, and finally, take a little peek into what the future of protein science might hold.
You know, to understand any machine, you have to start with its most basic parts, right? Its nuts and bolts. For proteins, that means we need to understand the fundamental bricks that are used to build every single one of them.
Okay, so at its core, a protein is what we call a polymer. Now that's just a fancy science word for a long chain made up of repeating units. In the case of proteins, those little units are molecules called amino acids. The best way to think about it is like a super long and very specific necklace, where every single bead is one of these amino acids.
So how exactly are those beads strung together to make the necklace? Well, when two amino acids, say a valine and an alanine, get next to each other, a water molecule gets kicked out and bam, a really strong, stable link called a peptide bond is formed. This process just repeats over and over and over, creating that long chain we call a polypeptide.
So we have our chain, we have our necklace. But honestly, a simple floppy chain can't really do all that much. The real magic, the secret to a protein's power, is all about how that chain folds up into a precise three-dimensional shape. So let's see how this happens, level by level.
It all starts right here, at level 1, the primary structure. This is simply the unique order of the amino acids in the chain, the exact sequence of the beads on our necklace. This sequence is everything. It's the fundamental blueprint, dictated by our DNA, and it determines all the folding that's about to happen next.
Next up, at level 2, different parts of that chain start to organize themselves into these regular repeating patterns. The two most common ones you'll see are the alpha helix, which is kind of like coiling a ribbon into a spiral, and the beta sheet, which looks like a piece of paper that's been folded back and forth like an accordion.
And now we get to the main event, the tertiary structure. This is the complete, final, three-dimensional shape of that single protein chain. All those little coils and pleated sheets from the secondary level now fold and pack together into this compact, functional form. This is the point where our chain finally becomes a working machine.
But wait, it doesn't always stop there. Some proteins are team players. At level 4, you have multiple individually folded protein chains. We call them subunits, that all come together to form one massive functional complex. Think of it like a supermachine made of several distinct parts that all have to click into place perfectly to work.
So why do we care so much about these 4 levels of folding? Why all this fuss about these incredibly complex shapes? Well, it's because, as we're about to see, that precise final structure is what gives a protein its specific job in the body.
And the range of jobs they do is just staggering. I mean, just look at this table. We see proteins as enzymes speeding up chemical reactions. They're transport molecules like hemoglobin acting as little delivery trucks. There's structural scaffolding like collagen, and even our microscopic defenders, the antibodies. The list just goes on and on. Let's take a look at a famous example, hemoglobin. This is the protein that carries oxygen in our blood. It's a perfect example of that quaternary structure we just talked about, with 4 distinct subunits all working together. Each of those 4 parts cooperates to efficiently pick up oxygen in your lungs and drop it off wherever it's needed. Its structure is perfectly designed for its job. Now, for contrast, look at collagen. It's not a compact little globe like hemoglobin. No way! Instead, it forms this incredible rope-like triple helix. This fibrous, super long shape is what gives collagen its immense tensile strength, making it the perfect structural protein for giving our skin, bones, and tendons their strength. You can see how form fits function perfectly. Okay, so we've established that a protein's very specific shape is absolutely critical for its job.
So what happens when that intricate structure is lost? What happens when the machine breaks down? Well, the most common type of failure is something called denaturation. A native or correctly folded protein is active and works great, but when you expose it to things like extreme heat or big changes in pH, it unfolds into a random, jumbled, useless shape. The classic example? Cooking an egg. The clear egg white is full of a protein called albumin. You add heat and it denatures, turning the whole thing solid and white. The protein's function is completely gone.
But here's the thing. Simply unfolding isn't the only way things can go wrong. And actually, it's not even the most dangerous. What's far more scary is when a protein misfolds. It adopts the wrong 3D shape, but one that's still stable. This misfolded protein can then act like a toxic agent, setting off a devastating chain reaction in the body. This is the terrifying mechanism behind diseases like mad cow disease. You start with a normal, healthy protein in the brain, but if it bumps into a misfolded prion version, that bad protein acts as a template. It forces the healthy one to corrupt itself, to adopt the same bad shape. This kicks off a cascade, an exponential wave of misfolding that just destroys brain tissue. It's a true zombie protein scenario.
So, from a simple sequence of amino acids to a complex, functioning machine, and even to the catastrophic failures that can happen, we've seen just how central a protein structure is to, well, to life itself.
If you remember just one thing from this whole explainer, please let it be this. In the world of proteins, shape is everything. Structure dictates function. The sequence is the blueprint, sure, but it's that final, folded shape that actually does the work. It's true for enzymes, for antibodies, for everything. It all comes down to shape.
And this brings us right to the frontier of modern science. For decades, predicting that final 3D shape just from the amino acid sequence, it's called the protein folding problem, has been a massive, massive challenge. So I'll leave you with this to think about. If we could finally crack that code for every protein, what new drugs could we design? What diseases could we cure? What incredible new molecular machines could we build? The possibilities are truly endless.